Something that was interesting to me is you actually got in uniform. You went down and beat the bushes with the minor league players, and I think you earned a lot of respect for that, and I think a lot of people don't understand what it takes and the effect it potentially has on players' performance in the minor leagues. So to be able to study that firsthand, what did you take away from that experience?
It was a great learning experience, and that's really what inspired us to do it, that we could think up all ideas great and crazy during lunch hours, but we're in the front office and we definitely are ignorant to some degree with what's going on there. We might have a collection of different ideas or proposals that we're trying to do in the minors, and some would succeed and some would fail, and we were not very good at predicting which would succeed or fail. And so we were definitely in the blind to some of the constraints that were going on. So the thinking was, what better way to get a bit smarter than to send somebody from the front office? And somehow that turned out to be me in 83 days on the bus and bad hotels. But from a personal standpoint, it was a wonderful experience. It was something I never imagined I would get to experience, and it really was a privilege to be around the coaches and the players like 24 hours.
Now, baseball players are certainly creatures of habit and have routines, so to try to interject something new, how are you finding that now, coming to Baltimore? Basically a whole new system that these players are kind of dealing with right now. And it seems like the early going in spring training, a lot of guys really hanging on to it, enjoy it.
Yeah, it's a different time, Mike. There was like giant skepticism pushback 14 years ago in St. Louis, and it was still there 7 years ago in Houston, but it's almost standard operating procedure now, and so many of these players have their colleagues or friends in other organizations, and they know the information, the technology that's helping their friends, and it doesn't take much thinking to look around and go, well, why don't we have that? And so as Mike Elias and company are bringing in a lot of these things, it's not received with pushback or cynicism. It's received with a welcoming smile.
Yeah, I think most athletes generally want to make themselves as good as possible, and you're giving them those opportunities. Do you ever worry, though, that it might be too much information for some of the players, or is that what the coach is there for, to kind of weed that stuff out?
Yeah, so the coach knows better, the player knows better. There are certainly times when the hitter wants to know the pitcher's tendencies and the pitcher wants to know the weaknesses of the hitter, and so we need to provide the best information as clearly as possible, and what they're thinking of when the action actually takes place, that's between them and their coach. But to give them the right information and the right tools in as intuitive as a way possible, like that's our goal, that's our task.
Well, I think here in Baltimore, a lot of your judging is going to be done on the draft, and it's upcoming. Seems like Mike Elias in spring training was kind of referring to it right out of the gate. It's going to be an important part of this organization, and being able to hit on players. How much analytically have you put into actually studying high school players and collegiate players?
Quite a bit. It's been a big part of, for my last 14 years of life, so many of my waking hours have been involved with the draft, of making sense of what you can of the college numbers, of what you can of the high school numbers, of the data from different technologies. So that's what we have a lot of experience with. That's what attracted the ownership to us, was the success we've had with the draft and player development. And given the state of the Orioles, like, the draft is very important, and that first pick, there's a lot riding on that too. And you're right, it's as important as you get for us here. Yeah,
well, I'll tell you what, here in Baltimore, there is genuine excitement about this rebuild. I think Oriole fans have been looking forward to this a long time, and it's nice to see actually doing it the right way. The game has changed. The Orioles are back in the game, both feet jumping in. Got a couple best in the business guys, Sig Mejdal, Mike Elias at the helm, and there's a lot of excitement here. I don't know that the Orioles are going to win a lot of games this season, maybe not next year, but I think they're going about it the right way to have a team that's going to be in contention. Once they hit, they're going to be here for a while. Appreciate your time.
No, my
Sig.
pleasure.
Yeah,
Thank you, Mike.
you.